gamers? Welcome to Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne for the new 3DS XL. Last episode, we made our way through the subway caves, and we fought a big Oni guy who liked to buff and debuff a lot, and it was very annoying. This episode... You know what? I'm not gonna say what we're gonna do this episode. Just, it'll be better if I just show you. So we're actually gonna continue onwards for now. This city's pretty shabby. There are places we can't even get through, but we'll clean it up because it's our city. So if we try to go this way, we actually will get stopped. Hey, look, it's the junk collector mannequin guy.
Phew, so busy. Oh, it's you. It's me, remember? You know, from the underpass and the prison, the collector guy. I was thinking of opening a store here, what with my vast repertoire of knowledge and experience. Thing is, this place is a mess now, so it'll be a while before I'll be able to open up. But I'll totally hook you up when it's open. So come on when I'm up and running. Okay, so yeah, we can't go that way. They're still fixing up the city, so there are some areas that are blocked off. The light was snuffed out in the darkness. Your feet landed on the ground. Demons grow restless at your presence. All of our stuff wore off. Oh, hello, sir. Oh, why was just the O voice acted? It's you, remember me? We met in the Great Underpass. How have you been? All right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I see. We're doing well living in Askusa. This is all thanks to Fudomimi's leadership.
He's just saying, why does he do that? This is like the only NPC in this game that does this.
Fudomimi is our holy land of
Mifu Nashiro. Mifu Nashiro. Go ahead and see him. Okay, so, that's cool and all, but I actually want to go this way. Oh, hey, kid.
Our holy land, Mifu,
is just past here. I agree. So if we go out of the city this way, we'll have to leave the area. Now you may be wondering, why aren't we going back in the subway? We still got Oni to fight. I thought you were going to fight at least two of the other ones. Yeah, we're still going to do that eventually. But I want to do something extra special for this episode.
Looking just at Askusa, it's heartwarming to see the mannequins restoring the town. But looking at Tokyo as a whole, we see the Nihilo taking over. And that's no laughing matter. The Nihilo have no rival. And we're just gonna sit here watching Hikawa make his world a stillness?
Not if I have anything to say about it, and I do. After I fight some demons. These are all demons we've seen before. In fact, we have both of them. I don't remember if we still have Hair Lady. I think we used her for fusion. But we can take these guys out with some fire breath. They're all weak to fire, so that was easy. Hit them with more fire. And now if we go in, I think it's the last room. Oh boy. If you've played this game before, you're already having flashbacks. And not the good kind.
What is it? You want to know what games humans used to play? I already beat this one. I doubt you'll even last a minute. It'll be over before it starts. If you can win, I'll give you this bug thingy I found.
I really wish you didn't, kid. I really wish you didn't.
Well, you gonna try it out?
Okay, so we have some explaining to do. As you know, we've been collecting every single one of the Magatamas. I've been hyping up the reward for collecting all of them and have been saying that it's really important for if you're doing the true demon ending. This is very, very true. Here's the one catch. One of the Magatamas that you need to obtain is by completing this minigame, Puzzle Boy. This game is infamous because if you want that reward every single time you play this game, you have to do every stage of this minigame, every playthrough. Because of that, we're just going to hammer this out now, get it over with. I'm actually going to hand this off to future Nate to do some post-commentary, while present Nate pulls up a guide and follows it in order to complete this game as fast as possible. So, on over to you, future me. Thank you, past me. And you know what? I gotta say, you're sounding very sexy and epic and awesome on this fine day. Um, anyway, yeah, this is future Nate, or I guess it's really just present Nate at this point, but whatever. So this is epic mini game section. Woo! Yeah, this is Puzzle Boy. And at the start of this, we're gonna see, because I tried to do like the first two stages without a guide, right? And you're gonna see why that I don't play puzzle games. Watch this level in particular. I am very bad at puzzles. I'm just the worst. This is why I never really got super into Zelda. I mean, I didn't have it as a kid, but then when I tried to play it later, I would just get stuck on the dungeons for hours, and then I'd get frustrated. Because I am just terrible at puzzles. Look at this. What is he doing? Why am I so stupid? Why am I like this? How do I, like, dress myself in the morning? This is truly just impeccable gameplay. I think I'm probably pulling up the guide right here. I'm like, okay, I need the guide. Someone help me. Okay, so because I happen to know how long this took, and I've decided to not speed it up at all, because I want you guys to have the full, unfiltered Puzzle Boy experience. I guess we're just kind of turning this into a podcast. I've already kind of done that once before. The problem is, I'm like, what do I talk about? So, I mean, I thought I could maybe talk about current events, because that'd be kind of fun. You know, current epic gamer news, because I do like Let's Plays where the person is, like, talking about stuff that was relevant at the time. Because I'm like, yo, this is so nostalgic to hear somebody talk about, yo, remember, the new game announced, New Super Mario Bros. U, you know, or something. Also, I'm still failing. Like, it took me longer to beat this stage than, like, any other stage. Well, that's probably not true. Some of the later ones are long. But why did it take me so long to figure this out? From this point on, I'm definitely using a guide, though. I just had like a stream going. I was watching the stream, and then I also had the guide pulled up, and I was just following the guide at 1/4 speed, so I didn't miss anything. But yeah, I think first thing I'll talk about is kind of a discussion of this Let's Play, how it came to be, and my thoughts on it so far. So I've been meaning to do a Let's Play of this game for a few months now. But there are a couple of hurdles kind of blocking me from doing so. The first is that I'm just more busy now than I used to be. I mean, this channel, it shouldn't surprise you. This channel was most active during the time I was unemployed, which is, again, not surprising. Now I'm not unemployed. I work a full-time job, so it's hard to find time to record as often. But, you know, it's been alright. It's been a fun thing to do. I haven't missed an upload yet, so that's good. The second thing blocking me was I did record a first episode of this Let's Play back in like mid-2024 on the PC version when I bought that for the first time. And what ended up happening was OBS, I hadn't used it in so long, it reset my settings, and I didn't think to like check and make sure that everything was still the way it used to be. And because of that, it didn't pick up my mic. And I was really bummed about that, because I thought that first episode was really good. Honestly, it was better than my first episode of this series. I hadn't recorded in so long that I think the first couple episodes of this series were a little rough, because I was, like, trying to relearn, you know, talking and playing the game at the same time. But I think I've slowly started to find my groove as time has gone on. But I remember that first episode was really funny. But it's, you know, it's lost to time. I mean, even if I still had the file, which I might, you know, there's no mic recorded, so you wouldn't have been able to hear the epic funny jokes anyway, which is really unfortunate. And I don't know, I just didn't have the motivation to replay through the start of the game, because the start of the game obviously is the slowest part. There's a lot of cutscenes and dialogue and stuff. And I just didn't really feel like I wanted to do it again when I just played through it all. So it just kind of fell through. Later on, I tried to do a Let's Play of Shin Megami Tensei 5, but the twist was that it was going to be a Nuzlocke run, because I thought that sounded fun. Specifically because SMT5 Vengeance, the like new enhanced version, had just come out like a couple months before. And that game has a lot of tools to like, I guess, support you only using like a small amount of demons. Like if you want to go through the whole game and just use like your starting pixie the entire game, I think you could, because between like the new Demon Haunt feature, the fact that the game gives you way more incenses than the original game did to like increase your demon stats, you could just like stick with those demons and they would get strong, which I thought sounded cool for like a Nuzlocke, because you know, you're not gonna have as many demons. The problem is, okay, what are the rules? And with that game, there's these things called abscesses, so I did like, oh, each abscess I get to get one new demon, whatever the first one I encounter is. But then it's like, okay, what if you fail the negotiation? The rules were kind of, you know, up in the air. The real problem I had was that trying to play the start of that game without a full party and with Nuzlocke rules combined is really difficult when it's just you and your pixie and like maybe you get a third demon. Some of those early abscess fights are like not designed for you to be going in with that small of a party and without being able to like get specific demons to help you win, right? I think I could have done it with enough attempts, but it was going to take a lot of early game fails. I think once I got further into the game it would have been fine, but the early game was just so like brutal. I didn't feel like resetting runs over and over again until I got a perfect attempt for the early game. So I kind of dropped that idea. That said, you know, now that I'm playing through this game, I definitely want to play SMT5 on the channel at some point. I don't know if it'll be right after this or not. I don't really have set in stone plans for what's next after this LP. But I do still want to do an SMT5 playthrough, and I do still want to make it a challenge run, because I want to use some of those, you know, cool new mechanics from Vengeance, but I won't spoil it. I think I have an idea. It's not a Nuzlocke, but I have a different idea for a fun challenge run through that game. Let's playing that game is going to be a little difficult in the sense that it's going to be really long, because I feel like I can't just show one story route, because if you don't know, Vengeance added a whole secondary route through the game called the Path of Vengeance, and I really like it. I think it's better than the original, you know, playthrough of the game, which still exists within Vengeance. The problem is, you can't just jump right into Vengeance, because the Vengeance route really kind of assumes you've already played the original, and it kind of plays with your expectations of what happened in that route. So you can't play it without playing the other, and I would really want to show both routes, because I think they both have unique things to offer. So that'd be a very long Let's Play, because I'd be essentially playing a 50-hour RPG twice, which, yeah, you know, do the math, it's like 100 hours. I mean, I don't even know how long this one's going to be. My first playthrough of this game took about 50 hours, but I'm definitely going much faster through the game this time, because I played it once before. And obviously I've been cutting things as well, because I'm not showing... I haven't done like a ton of level grinding, but I've done some. And I'll probably do a lot more once we get further into the game and things start getting really difficult. But I'm not going to show any of that, so, you know. I don't think this Let's Play is going to be like 100 parts long. We're actually decently far into it at this point. I don't think we're quite halfway, though. But it's hard for me to really remember. I bet we're like getting close to halfway, but with a huge asterisk, because the later areas of the game are a lot longer, and there's also a lot of optional stuff in this game that doesn't unlock till a little bit later, and some of it might be unlocked now, but we're just not strong enough to take it on. Like the final Oni fight. Obviously, we've only done one of them, but that last Oni is very strong. So once we get into that part of the game, there's going to be a lot of like optional side stuff episodes, I'm guessing. That'll kind of like increase the length of the Let's Play. But yeah, I have no idea how long it's going to go, but I'm just going to keep doing it 3 episodes a week. We'll see how far we get. Hopefully I don't miss a single day and we make it all the way to the end of the LP, which would be great. But why did I choose this game? Well, this series has kind of been my latest hyper fixation, I guess. I got into the series in like 2023. So I guess I think it'd be fun to kind of go over like my whole history with getting to this point, why I'm so into the franchise now. I started playing SMT back in when SMT, well, okay, actually before even SMT5. My first SMT game technically is Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, because I was a huge Fire Emblem fan. But when that game first got announced, I had the same reaction that I think like every Fire Emblem fan had, or most of them, which was, what am I looking at? When we first heard that there was going to be a Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem game, in true Atlas fashion, they announced it way too early. Which, to be fair, they've been a lot better about nowadays. Nowadays, they actually wait until really close to the game's release date to announce a game. But back during this era of Atlas, they were infamous for announcing games long before they were ever going to come out. Like, Persona 5 was announced, and then, like, didn't come out for a billion years, and stuff like that. SMT5 was the same way. Like, I don't even think they had started working on the game when they announced it at that Nintendo Switch initial presentation. They were like, yep, we're gonna make one. Haven't started working on it yet, but, you know, we plan on making one. Which is, like, cool, you know? But Tokyo Mirage Sessions, when they first announced it, it was just Fire Emblem Cross SMT, and there was just, like, a basic teaser trailer with a bunch of stock art of Fire Emblem characters, and then stock art of, like, SMT characters. And that was kind of, I think, the first time I had heard about the franchise. And I remember looking into it just a tiny bit, and then I saw, like, the SMT4 characters. Which, I was like, oh, this makes sense for a Fire Emblem crossover, because these guys look like medieval, like, samurai. I was like, oh, like, medieval characters, that works perfect with Fire Emblem. Now, if you know anything about SMT4, or, well, if you know anything about SMT in general, it's not like a medieval franchise. It usually takes place in modern-day Tokyo, except it's been overrun with demons. Now, I don't want to spoil SMT4 at all. You should play it yourself, or hopefully I'll be able to Let's Play it. The problem is it's a 3DS game. I don't really have a great way to do that, but I'd love to play that game. The thing with SMT4 is the character designs are not really indicative of what SMT is. So, you know, in retrospect, the idea that those two franchises were going to cross over is kind of wild, because really the only thing they have in common is they're both RPGs, and that's like it. So I'm actually really curious how this crossover even happened. But what Atlas ended up doing with it was way different than I think anyone expected. They just went a completely unique direction with the game. The SMT aspect of the game was really just like, it has some gameplay elements of SMT, like you strike weaknesses, but instead of it being like the press turn system, or like the whole Persona one more system, it's like you have session attacks, so if you hit a weakness, all your team like jump in and attack. And it still has like the SMT elements and stuff, you know, the force, lightning, fire, ice stuff. But for the most part, it doesn't really have a ton to do with SMT. The game's name, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, is, you know, abbreviated, is TMS, which is SMT backwards. But it's like barely an SMT game. It does have Fire Emblem elements, you know, your little stands, your personas, which honestly, Tokyo Mirage Sessions almost has more to do with Persona than SMT. But, which obviously Persona started its life as an SMT spin-off, but, yeah, the personas in that game are just the, like, Fire Emblem characters, but they're only from Fire Emblem 1 and Awakening, so the oldest and newest games, which is always kind of a weird choice. Like, I get that Awakening was the most popular by far, but, like, they're like, oh, but there's also FE1 characters. It's like, okay, I don't know, it's just super weird. There's this whole section towards the end of the game where you meet a bunch of, like, FE1 characters, and it's like, okay, where's all the other games, you know? That said, the way I got that game was, I was initially not interested in it at all. I thought it looked silly. I was like, what even is this? Then I graduated high school. And I remember my mom being like, you know, to celebrate you graduating high school, I want to get you something, like a gift. She's like, what is something you would want? And I was like, this is a chance for me to play this silly Fire Emblem crossover game without having to spend my own money. So, I asked for Tokyo Mirage Sessions. And when I graduated high school, like the day I graduated or the day after, I got the game. And I played it. And I quickly learned that I'm a weeb. And I really liked the game. I love the aesthetic. I love the box art, the way the art style looks. In fact, the box of the game is like on my shelf, like this displayed front and center on one of my shelves, because I love the box art of that game. I love the art style used for it. And this was 2016, right? And this was around the time when I realized that I really like all this anime bullshit. Which, you know, coincided perfectly with Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which honestly was part of the reason. I mean, that was the first game I played that didn't have, like, an English dub, so you have to play the game with Japanese voices. And that was, like, my first big experience with, like, Japanese voice acting. And I was like, I don't understand anything they're saying. And then I played it a bunch, and I was like, does that really matter? I mean, you could just read the sub. It's not that deep. And yeah, I ended up really liking the game. I played the majority of the game that summer, and then I went off to college, and then, you know, college happened, so I didn't finish it. But then partway through, I think that first year of college, I did finish the game, and I beat it. And yeah, absolutely loved it. But, you know, I played it more for the Fire Emblem, not the SMT. I still didn't really know what an SMT was. So then the big Persona 5 boom happens. Persona 5 comes out, and I don't think it was like a huge success right away, but very slowly, because of like word of mouth and stuff, and YouTubers using its OST in every single video, the game started to spread like wildfire online. And it quickly became one of the most well-known, well-received JRPGs of any recent time, at least for like turn-based RPGs. And everyone was talking about it, everyone was playing it, and I was like, man, I guess I kind of want to play it now. But I don't have a PS4. Or a PS3. It was on PS3, but I had not had a PlayStation system since the PS2, so I couldn't play it. But then my brother ended up getting a PS4. And he bought the game, or got it. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But he ended up with the game, and then I was like, hey, can I play the game? So I played it on his PS4, and I really liked it. So I beat Persona 5 and had a great time. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm more interested in this series. So then I moved over to Persona 3, because I had a PS2, and I was like, oh, aren't the last two games before this one on PS2? So I looked up online, and it turns out you could just buy sealed, brand new boxed copies of Persona 3 and 4 for like $30. That might still be true even now. I haven't checked. But apparently in like 2009 or something, I tried to look this up because I was really confused why these even existed. Atlas just like made a bunch of copies of some of their PS2 RPGs. So like Persona 4, Persona 5, Shin Megami Tensei, Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2, and probably some other ones. Those are just the four I know of because I bought all four of those games. And despite being like the Digital Devil Saga games like selling 0 copies and being super rare, and like Persona being super desirable, the games are all really cheap new because there were just so many copies floating out and like sitting in warehouses that Atlas had just printed for some reason. And the only difference is that the plastic used for the cases is much cheaper. They really cheaped out on the plastic for the boxes. But you could, if you're really bent out of shape about that, you could just take a different PS2 game and swap the inserts, you know? And then there you go. So yeah, that's what I did. I got brand new copies of 3 and 4, and I played 3 first. And I liked that game even more than I liked 5, because, you know, big PS2 era JRPG fan. And absolutely, like, Persona 3 FES Fess. How is it even pronounced? I've heard people say that game's name so many different ways. I liked it even more than 5. I thought it was super fun. I liked the difficulty of the game. It was a lot more difficult than 5. Then at some point, like, Royal came out, and, like, I played Royal, but I think the problem is I played it way too soon after playing the original. And so it just felt like the same game, and, like, yeah, there's changes and stuff, but you can't, like, skip story in that game. You can, like, fast forward it, but you can't, like, totally skip it. And because so much of the story is identical, it was kind of exhausting going through a second time, and so I never actually finished Royal. I beat the, like, regular game content, and then I got to, like, the Royal content, and I never finished it. To this day, I've never finished Royal because of burnout. And I don't know, maybe I'll go back to it one day, but I've got a lot of other Atlas games to play because of what happens next. So, at that point, SMT5 was going to come out at some point. This is, at this point, probably a couple years later. When did SMT5 come out? I feel like I already asked that this video. Was it 2022 or 2023? Whatever. Regardless, SMT5 is about to come out. I'm going to get it day one. I always planned on getting it even before I even played the Persona games, because I was like, oh, you know, I've heard about this series, and if it's coming to, new games come to Switch, sure, I'll play it. I got it for Switch, and I was really impressed. I think I really liked a lot of things about the game. I don't want to talk too much about it, because, you know, if I'm going to Let's Play it, I want to save the discussion for that. But at the same time, the game didn't feel quite... It's not an unpolished game, but it just felt a little, like, lacking in some areas. And, you know, now I have the power of hindsight and being from the future. Vengeance fixed a lot of these weird aspects of the game. The biggest one is the bizarre level scaling. In a lot of RPGs, your level determines damage to some extent. Like, if you're higher level than the enemy, you might get a little bit of a damage multiplier bonus. You know, lower level characters attacking a higher level character will do a little bit less damage. Like Pokemon has this, for example. But in most RPGs, that multiplier isn't so big that you can't overcome it, right? You can still take on a Pokemon 20 levels above your Pokemon, and if you hit a Leavanny with a flamethrower, it's gonna faint, you know, no matter what. Well, for whatever reason, the original version of SMT5 had just completely cranked this multiplier. Like, if you are like 5 levels above or below an enemy, the damage is just stupid. Like, if you're 5 levels above a boss, the boss can't hurt you. But on the flip side, if you're like 5 levels below a boss, or heck, even like 3 levels, you are just doing nothing to it. And it was kind of this frustrating aspect of the game that I didn't even know existed. Like, I was getting destroyed at the beginning of the game, and I couldn't figure out why, and it's because I would take on these quest enemies that were, like, 3 levels above me, and I'm like, oh, it's 3 levels above, and I've got 4 characters to their 1. Why wouldn't I be able to win? But because of the weird level scaling, I just couldn't win. I would just get obliterated. That aspect of the game has been completely fixed in Vengeance, so it's not a problem anymore. But I think because of a lot of those weird little things about the original version of SMT5, I ended up kind of dropping the game. And I didn't revisit it until much later when Vengeance was announced. But by the time Vengeance was announced, I was already into this series because I played this game. This game released, and I didn't play it right at launch. I think it was like a year later. I finally played this game because I had watched like a random challenge run video of Digital Devil Saga 1, a game I knew nothing about. But watching that video, it just kind of rekindled my love for PS2 era JRPGs. I'm like, it reminded me why I love them so much, because the strategies employed in it were so cool. And I was like, man, I really want to play a PS2 JRPG. And I don't want to play this game that I just watched because I just watched it. I want to play one blind. And I was like, wait a minute. SMT3 came out on modern systems. I was like, that's perfect. And then I go on the Switch eShop, and what do you know? The game's on sale for like $8. And I'm like, well, shoot. This is perfect timing. Let me go download that. And then over the next couple of weeks, I would play through this entire game, SMT3. And I absolutely loved it. It was everything I could have wanted in a PS2 era JRPG. Just everything about it, the challenge, the way the graphics look, because, yeah, I grew up playing a lot of PS2, so I'm very nostalgic for the way these games look. Just everything really blew me away. I was like, this is my kind of game. And I finished the game and I was like, I absolutely love this. I was like, I should go back to 5 eventually. But then they announced Vengeance, and I was like, okay, now I definitely gotta finish 5 so that I can play the new route once the game comes out. So I went back and beat 5. And I'm trying to remember, did I go back and beat 5 directly next as my next SMT game? I think so. That sounds right, but I can't remember the exact order I played the games in from this point. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm completely blanking. I went back and I finished 5, and then I think I played Digital Devil Saga 1 next, because I was like, okay, that's the game that kind of, like, inspired me getting into the franchise more. I want to play it. And so I played through that game. I own both 1 and 2. They were very affordable considering they were brand new, copies. Actually, I think I did get Digital Devil Saga 1 used because I found a good deal on it online, and it looked like it was in good condition. But then 2 I definitely got sealed, the same way I got Persona 3 and 4. And then I played that game. That game's great, a lot of fun. I still need to play 2. I've been, like, spoiler dodging 2 for so long now. I just need to sit down and play it. I mean, Digital Devil Saga 1 wasn't super long. It was, like, 25 hours. I didn't do a lot of the side super bosses. There's a bunch of optional super bosses in DES 1 that I only beat, like, 1 or 2 of them. But, like, yeah, just playing the game casually, it only took about 25 to 30 hours, which is shorter than, like, this game was when I played it, or, like, SMT 5. So I bet the second one's probably only get like 25 to 30 hours as well. And I hear the second one's like better than the first one, and I did really enjoy the first one, so I definitely want to play the sequel. The one thing I do know about the sequel, the soundtrack, absolutely peak. I mean, Digital Devil Saga 1's soundtrack is also peak, but DDS 2 somehow improves on it even more. Easily my favorite SMT soundtracks. Like, the composer for Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 was cooking. Like, oh my gosh, some of my favorite JRPG music, like, specifically, like, battle themes. The battle themes are so good. The standard battle theme in DDS 2 is just, like, insane how good it is. Like, I can't wait to just play that game and hear that song constantly. Oh, by the way, this puzzle that we're watching right now is hilarious. Like, it's this huge board, and then the solution, you just kind of snake through the bottom. Yeah, I played DDS 1. That game, very difficult, except for the final boss, which was hilariously easy. I don't know what was up with that. The game was like kicking my butt through so much of it, and then the final boss, it was like the most easiest first try ever. It's like, okay, they just kind of do nothing. Not sure what was up with that. I know they're super hard in like challenge runs, but if you're playing the game normally, like, very easy final boss. One of the easiest JRPG final bosses I feel like I've ever fought. Yeah, I played DDS 1, and then after that I was like, okay, what's next? I could go into 2, but I was like, no, I don't want to burn myself out on this game's gameplay, like, style. So I think I'll jump into SMT 4, and man, SMT 4 is great. It's a great game. I couldn't put it down. I remember the first night I played it, I would like be like, oh, I played a couple hours, I would take a break, and then I like 20 minutes later I'd be like, I boot up the game again. Especially like that game's story is like, in world building, is just so interesting. Because, this game's story I wouldn't say is bad, but it's, it's like there. It's nothing crazy. Like, it's fun to play through, but it didn't, like, blow me away. But, like, SMT4's story and, like, the characters in it and everything were just so enjoyable to me that I was like, I have to just keep playing, to explore this world and learn more about the characters. The thing about SMT4 is that it's actually more similar to Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2, which I have not played. But from what I've heard and seen, SMT4 is much more similar to those, to kind of how those games were structured. Whereas when Atlas made Nocturne, it was the series' first big leap into 3D, and it had been a long time since the last main series game. They kind of like reinvented themselves with this one and created something like entirely new. Like, this game doesn't have the traditional neutral law chaos alignment system that SMT is so famous for. Instead, it just has different endings depending on like whose reason you want to like side with, which is very different. And they went back to the classic alignment system with the next two games in the series. This one just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb because it doesn't have that. But it does still have the multiple endings. But yeah, 4 goes back to the traditional alignment system, and it feels very, very close to like it's more of a spiritual successor to the first two games. And then 5 feels more like a successor to this game, but it still does have some of the traditional like law, chaos, neutral stuff that the other games of the series have. But I kind of group like SMT 1, 2, and 4 together, and then like 3 and 5 together as their own little cliques, their own little clubs, where they're the most similar to each other. But yeah, SMT 4, very, very good game. I don't want to say much about it because I'd love to play it on the channel, and I also think because that game's story and world is the one I find the most interesting, I don't want to say anything about it because I don't want to spoil it, because there's a lot of great moments in that game that I'm very glad I played that game blind. All I knew about the game before going in was the boss theme, which I think, if you're a fan of video game music, you've probably heard the SMT4 boss theme, because it has like a jillion views. I think it's at least 10 million, which for a series as obscure in the grand scheme of things as SMT, it's pretty wild that a song from this game this series has 10 million views. But I mean, it's a really great boss theme. The soundtrack in SMT4 in general is just phenomenal. But, yeah, I played that game, loved it, and then Vengeance came out, and I played that, and I thought it was a big improvement over the original. Really like Vengeance. A lot of fun. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. The other games I played, I did try Jack Bros for the Virtual Boy. I'm very bad at the game and could not get very far because I suck. I played on the Nintendo DS SMT Strange Journey, which is a very beloved game in the franchise, and I need to go back and finish that. I have not finished it. I'm pretty far into the game. The thing with Strange Journey, though, is it takes a lot of brain power. You can't just like play it as like a casual, I'm going to turn my brain off and boot this game up thing. I mean, you can't really do that with... I mean, SMT is a more difficult franchise in general, but I also think it's a little overhyped. Like, SMT3 is always called the Dark Souls of JRPGs. But, like, it's more difficult than a lot of them, sure. But is it like that difficult? I think it's just because a lot of people did play this game when it came out as kids, because it had the featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series sticker on it. And so a lot of people who had very little experience with JRPGs played this as kids, and yeah, you would get absolutely destroyed. But if you've played a lot of JRPGs, I mean, this game isn't, like, that brutal, Like, it's hard, but it's not, like, impossible difficulty. Strange Journey, on the other hand, is that game. Strange Journey, I think it has multiple difficulties. I always play games on normal mode the first time I play them, because I like to get a good feel for like the game's baseline before I go up to higher difficulties. In Strange Journey, that game will just kick your butt. It really is. It lived up to the hype of its difficulty for sure. So it's one of those things where I almost have to be in the right mindset for, because it's like, if I'm gonna play this game, I gotta be locked in. No mistakes, or else my team is gonna get eviscerated. But I get why people like it so much. It has such a unique atmosphere. The story is really interesting. It harkens back to, like, the old SMTs where it's, like, first person through a dungeon. Similar to Etrian Odyssey as well. And I say that specifically because Etrian Odyssey is also an Atlas game. And I believe the Etrian Odyssey team, who, Etrian Odyssey started on the DS, they worked on Strange Journey and its remake, so hence why there's so much overlap between the gameplay of like Strange Journey and Etrian Odyssey. You know, thinking about it, I played like half of one Etrian Odyssey game. I want to play them more someday. But very similarly, Etrian Odyssey games are very difficult. Or at least the one I played was. So I see the overlap there. This is definitely the same devs. You know, they love their brutal game design, and you know, I can appreciate that. I think the dungeons in like Strange Journey are very elaborate, very puzzle-like, and as you know, I'm very bad at puzzles. I've seen some really funny screenshots of like the maps from Strange Journey, especially some of the late game ones. There's one in particular that I did complete last time I played the game, where you look at a map and it is just the most complex looking thing you've ever seen in your life. Like the most labyrinthine bullcrap ever. Not a game for the faint of heart, that's for sure. But it is great. I really do need to go back and finish it. You know, one day. I played the original DS version. It also has a 3DS remake, but I decided to just stick with the original. As for what games I'm going to play next, I mean, I gotta play DDS2. But I also want to play the, like, tactics game. I always mix up the names. Is it Devil Survivor? It might be Devil Survivor, or that might be something else. I don't know. It's one on the DS. I think there's 2 games, actually. I know for sure one's on the DS. I have it downloaded and everything. On my official Nintendo DS cart, I swear. Yeah, Nintendo, if you're watching this, I purchased the game legally. Anyway, I really want to play that game. I didn't know much about it because I've been avoiding everything about these games before I play them. But I did end up hearing recently that the way the game works is that you're on like a tactics grid, like your Fire Emblems, you know, your Final Fantasy Tactics. Also, there you can see me. I bumped the the capture button on the PS5 controller. What was I saying? I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, the way that game's gameplay works is it's like a tactics game, but then when 2 people get into combat, instead of it being like Fire Emblem where you have hit chances, you watch the people attack, the individual battles are you have squads of 3, and then the battles are like traditional SMT battles, which is like so cool. Like you have a character, and then you have their like 2 demon buddies, and then they fight the other team, and then you do an SMT style battle, like traditional turn-based battle to like see who wins, I guess? I don't know. Again, I've tried to avoid all footage of the game, but once I heard that, which this is like a week ago that I learned this, I was like, that sounds like the most perfect thing ever. You've like combined 2 things I love. Like, I need to play this game. And to be fair, I've only ever heard positive things about that game. Like, everyone who's played it is like, this game's amazing. It's great. You know, you gotta play it. So, definitely looking forward to that one. But yeah, that's my journey with SMT so far. I've just gotten really into it, and it really scratches that itch that I have for, you know, turn-based Japanese role-playing games, which is my favorite genre. And I think that SMT just has such a firm grasp of like what makes the genre fun, and yeah, I just absolutely love it. Looking forward to other games that we'll get in the future. Hopefully, you know, I mean, we're getting the Raito remaster, which is cool. And it sounds like all of the people, or the majority of the devs who worked on the original game, are just still working for Atlus all these years later. And they were like, hey, wait, what if we just like made a new version of the game for modern audiences? So like, that's cool. Now that game's actually an action game, like an action RPG, similar to like, I don't know, like Kingdom Hearts or something. But I'm still looking forward to playing it for sure. It sounds fun. But, you know, as for new games, you know, we'll see what happens. It's kind of weird because Atlus made Metaphor. And the thing with Metaphor is that structurally it's very similar to Persona 5. But the battle system is SMT. It has the turn-based battle system. Of course it does. It has the press turn battle system. They just don't call it that by name, but it is the press turn battle system. So it's kind of interesting. It's like, is Metaphor a SMT game? Like, it is its own thing, but so much of its DNA is taken from other Atlas games. It's such a weird anomaly, but it was a huge success, so like, I wonder if we'll just see more original games from Atlas that still use like the press turn battle system because it's just so fun. Like, the battle system's just so fun. I'm addicted to the battle system. I've said this before. Like, it's just so fun to me. So like, if they just keep making games with that battle system, I mean, that sounds awesome. Just keep doing it. I don't care. Why reinvent the wheel, you know? But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what the future of the series is. I don't know when we'll get a SMT 6 because the last 3 games, SMT 3, 4, and 5, have all had roughly 10-year gaps in between each game. So if they follow that trend, we're not getting another SMT mainline game until 2030, 2 or something. But that's not really a bad thing. I like that they have such a big space, and they kind of fill it with like spin-off games in between. But like the big releases are kind of a once-a-decade thing now, which is kind of cool. But there's obviously like all special versions. Like SMT4 has SMT4 Apocalypse, which is very similar to like think Majora's Mask, right? Majora's Mask is they were like, hey, what if we just took all the assets we already have for Ocarina of Time and use them to make a new Zelda game? They basically did the same thing with SMT4. They were like, what if we just we have all these assets, let's just make a new game using them. We'll call it SMT4 Apocalypse. It'll take place in like an alternate timeline from the regular SMT4, but also in the future. It's kind of weird. It's a sequel, but it's a sequel to an ending of SMT4 that doesn't exist, basically. You know what? That is kind of a genre of games that I love, though. Games that are sequels of games that don't actually exist. And funny enough, the original SMT4 story, I don't want to get too into it for spoiler reasons. SMT4 story already felt like it's a sequel to a game that doesn't exist. So it's kind of funny that APOC is a sequel to an ending that doesn't exist of a game that feels like a sequel to a game that doesn't exist. This is like 5D chess going on here. But yeah, I played a little bit of SMT4 Apocalypse. Definitely want to finish that one. The game's a little, it's not nearly as beloved as SMT4. I've heard the story, it's not great. But it did make a lot of improvements to the gameplay. The gameplay-wise, it kind of fixed any of the like gripes people had about SMT4, for the most part. And it also added some really cool things to the franchise, which is like demons now specialize in elements. Because before, it's like, you could teach your Jack Frost a fire move, and it works the same as it does on any other demon. Which just feels a little weird, and also, like, kind of makes demons feel a little more homogenous than maybe you want. So in APOC, they were like, okay, what if, like, Jack Frost, if he has ice moves, they do slightly more damage, and he has to use less MP to cast them, but maybe he's bad at fire. So you can still teach him a fire move, but it'll do less damage, and it'll cost more MP. And I think that's a great way to do it, because you can still make demons do whatever you want, but there is a little bit of, like, personality to, like, demons being good at certain things. And it was so well received that it stayed in the series for SMT5, and I imagine it's just going to be a staple, because, I mean, there's really no downside to it. I think it works really great. And heck, there's items that increase demons' like potential is what it's called. So if you still want your Jack Frost to use fire, you can get those items. They're not easy to get, but you could get them. They're actually pretty plentiful in Vengeance, actually. So you could like pump a bunch of those fire potential boosters into your Jack Frost, and now your Jack Frost is a fire attacker. And I think that's super fun. Yeah, big fan of like the customization options that Vengeance added. Again, I do plan on playing that game on the channel eventually, so. But you'll see when that happens. But I think there's just so much creativity you can have with Vengeance, more than like any other SMT game. Like the world is kind of your oyster with that game. There's so much fun builds and stuff you can make. It's super fun. But yeah, it looks like we're almost done here. This 46 minutes this took me. And every single time I want to play this game, I gotta do this to get the Magatama. Can you believe that? That's ridiculous. It's so long. Now, you could probably go faster once you, like, memorized it. I'm sure, like, if you got good at this game, like, eventually you could do it, like, 12 minutes. Like, you know, go through them all. But I'm not that good yet. So, I do kind of want to get the trophy for getting all endings at some point in my life. Now that said, I don't have to do this every playthrough. And I probably won't, honestly, because we're getting the hardest ending this playthrough. So after that, I don't really need to get all the Magatamas to get the other endings. So for all I know, this could be the last time I ever have to play this game. But I know that because I said that, I'm going to inevitably do like a hard mode True Demon playthrough. And then I'm going to have to do this again. Oh boy. I guess one last thing I can say is that the song that plays in the background here was used for... It was in SMT1, and then I think they used it again in Persona 5 Royal. If you play Persona 5 Royal, go back and listen to that song. Tell me if you've heard it before in Royal, because I think they use it for a minigame. Anyway, that's all the time I've got for today. I'm going to send it back over to Past Nate. Thanks, future me. I'm sure whatever you talked about during that, like, 45-minute section of me just playing Puzzle Boy was really interesting, insightful, and changed everyone's lives. Back to present me. So, I guess it means you beat it. Fine. You can have the bug thingy. You obtained the Magatama Geis. You can come back some other time, you know. Besides, I already beat it. We did it! We obtained the Magatama! This one's good, too. That's the worst part. Actually, we never checked those other ones we picked up. And in fact, this one is really important. So let's make sure I ingest that before I forget. Or is it this one? No, I'm pretty sure it's this one. So Geis is really good because it gives you healing and diorama. I mean, hey, that's pretty good. But we're going to level up this one first. And then this was the other one we got. It just gives fire. But I believe this Magatama will eventually teach us a new physical move, which is good because Lunge, it's very power corrupt at this point. We need a better physical move, but we're going to get one soon. Okay, let's heal up because we're technically not out of the woods yet. We still have to make it back to the save point. If we die before making it back, I have to redo it all over again. I've heard of someone doing this before in, like, a comment section. They were like, yeah, I beat Puzzle Boy and then died on the way back. And now I'm just paranoid. Now, luckily, these are actually really low-level enemies. We got one of the easy encounters in here, which is good. In fact, why don't I just use a repel? So that we don't even find those guys. Alright, almost there. We're safe! We're back to the safe Asakusa town. Gotta get to the save point, gotta get to the save point! Save point! No, I never have to do Puzzle Boy again until the next time I play through this game. We'll save in the third file. Oh, man. You know, the first time I beat this, I was like, I can't wait to never have to do Puzzle Boy again. And here we are. Well, that's going to be it for today's episode, gamers. Tune in next time when, I'm not really sure what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out. See ya! Whoa, 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 hold it right there, me from the past, but at the time it was the present, then there's the future me. There's a lot of timelines going on right now. It's all really important to the Red Scissor lore or something. Anyway, I forgot the question of the day. The entire video rendered, and then I remembered that I need to do the question of the day. At least I remembered before I uploaded it. But now I gotta re-render the entire video. Okay, yeah, whatever. Anyway, question of the day. What is, gamers, what is a game you wish you could replay again for the very first time all over again? For me, there's like a million different options, but I thought about it for like at least 5 seconds, and I realized I think I would pick Zero Escape 2 Virtue's Last Reward because the plot is insane. And like I would love to experience that blind again. That would be awesome. That game has a lot of puzzles. Hey, remember when I was talking about how I'm bad at puzzles? I don't think I've ever admitted this before because I was too embarrassed, but now it's just funny. When I first played that game, I just used a guide to do all the puzzles. I never actually solved any of the puzzles. I just had the guide do it for me, and then I would copy it because I was really invested in the story, but I was too dumb to do the puzzles. Um, yeah. Okay, bye, gamers.